plug it back in, and we plugged it back in.
And it works.
It makes no sense. I don't know. I don't understand technology.
Yeah, just turn it off. Turn it back on again.
And the funny thing was, I was trying to clear an SD card the other day.
Yeah.
And my computer was like not even it wasn't reading the SD thing.
Yeah.
And I tried for like 30 minutes. I tried different SD readers, and I finally just did the Nintendo, just blew on it. I just like blew in the computer, blew on the SD chip, put it back in, and that was it. And we were going.
That's great. I mean,
it's so classic.
If that's an easy fix, then it's an easy fix, you know?
It is.
It's nice.
Yeah. Are you technologically proficient?
I can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at figuring it out. But
yeah. Because we struggle here all the time. There was an episode we were recording the day before Tri left for his Euro trip, and it was a fan question episode. We recorded it, and then like 50 minutes into it, Tri realized that he never turned his mic on. And I was like, so that's why I'm now checking. I'm like, okay, I'm wearing number 4. Number 4 is turned up. You're number 1. Number 1 is adequately turned up. And so now I'm going to like check every 5 minutes to make sure we're recording on the right mics.
I've actually did something with Stein and P1440 one time I was a demo pretty much, and we did this whole over 3 hours. You know, Stein's talking, explaining all the drills. I've demoed everything. We finished. I spoke a little bit at the end, and then Casey's like, nothing was on. None of the mics were on.
Oh, no.
And we were all just like, no. We're done. We're done. We're going home.
From the top. We're going home. Good rehearsal.
No. Had we caught it earlier, maybe. But we had finished the whole day.
Yeah.
The whole day.
That's crazy.
I don't know what they did with that.
Well, because a lot of, they hired like great people.
Right.
Whose job?
Artie was there.
Whose job was it to be on the mics?
I don't know.
Because that's tough. Because a lot of times, like all the technology guys and they did, like the content they created was awesome.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
They had good cameraman, and that's surprising that would have happened.
Well, I think it was just a little fluke that somebody had checked, and then they might have turned it off, and then turned.
Yeah.
And it was not a happy sight. I was
out
of there as fast as I could.
Oh, I bet. Was that at, you said that was at Newland?
That was at Carrie's house.
Oh, nice.
That was during the pandemic when everything was going down and they were trying to put out content for people to do at home.
Got it.
Like drills to do alone and stuff. So, yeah.
There was a lot of that during COVID.
Yeah. Smart, though, but it gets people moving.
Oh, for sure. How was your COVID? What did you do during the pandemic?
It was all right. You know, in the beginning, we stayed at home. I started surfing a bunch because all practices, pretty much everything was canceled. Yeah. Fallon had called me, and, she had to take care of her son and her family. And I was like, totally, we're all staying home, Yeah. And then I just went surfing pretty much every day out at sunset, up in Malibu. I had a blast until they shut down the water as well as the beach. And then, we got to hang around. We ended up moving down here.
Are you still in like that big mansion off of in Manhattan?
Yeah,
okay.
We live in 2nd Street still, and it's a blast. I love my roommates. And we actually, Kaylee York just moved in.
Oh, into that house?
Yeah, she just moved in. So
that's
first
awesome.
Other volleyball player to move in, but
That's awesome.
It's a blast. So when COVID was strong, like one of my roommates is a DJ, one of my roommates was a bartender.
Oh, super fun.
And they would just,
dangerous combo.
Right. We were having, we got a fog machine, we got lights, we were doing, it looked like a bar in there sometimes. Yeah. One person would come over and we're like a full rager for ourselves, Yeah. It was a blast. It was so much fun. But, it's nice to be around people when you're, especially over COVID. Yeah. It's nice to have a group of friends.
You guys have like 6 people in there?
7. Yeah.
Okay. So you guys had like a small village in that. So at least you had like a big quote unquote family.
And then we all got COVID together.
All
got COVID together. One person came home, was like, guys, I tested positive. This is the original COVID.
Yeah.
And he, it went down the train.
Yeah.
But it knocked me down. Delaney was actually the first person I came back onto the sand with, and I just set her a few balls. And I would be like hunched over, like.
Really? So it got you. When was that?
That was March.
Like in relation to the Champions Cup.
Oh, that was March 2021. So it was after.
So like a year after. Mm-hmm. Okay.
But right before the season in 2021 started, I went from I was practicing, and then I got a stress fracture in my foot.
Oh.
And
how'd you get a stress fracture in your foot?
I think it was just from being in COVID, not keeping the same structure in my body, I guess. Like I wasn't playing as much. I was lifting, but maybe a different kind of lifting. I don't know. We didn't have like a gym. All the gyms were closed, so it was whatever we could use. And then once my foot went out, I was wearing a boot and I hurt my back, and then I got COVID. So it was like,
bam.
Yeah. Things of three. And then we started our season and went automatically to Bulgaria. And I was a little like weaker than I was used to. So that season was tough. By the end of that last season, it was, my body was feeling it.
Yeah. I mean, last year I feel like was tough for anybody who really wanted to play volleyball because you had to go overseas. There's really no other choice. And I mean, I was so fried by the end of last year because, I mean, you probably played, what, like 10 to 12 international tournaments maybe?
Yeah, we played
somewhere
a bunch.
In that area.
Yeah, we were over there quite a bit.
Our initial stretch, we were all like Bulgaria to Sochi, to Bulgaria, to Bulgaria, somewhere else. And
we played at least 8, I think, for sure. I can think of 8 off the top of my head. But then we went back later in the end of the year because I forgot. So maybe 9, 10 international stuff.
Jeez, that's so many.
I know. And then we came back and played the 3, but then Ali also had an injury. Yeah. And, so that got a little weird as well.
It's funny, like 2020 and 2021 are such like time warps. They're like black holes. Like when you were talking about when you played with Fallon.
Yeah.
That to me in my head was like, it's like, why are you talking about 1998, Corinne? 1998. So long ago.
I know. It's crazy, but it wasn't that long ago. Like, I know. Really, and it's weird for me because a lot of the girls that are coming out of college right now were 1 year below me or my age, or some of them are even older than me. Yeah. And it's crazy to think because I graduated college like 4 or 5 years ago now. Yeah. And I graduated like a little bit early, but still, I think having that difference between the people in college that were still in a program, still on their weightlifting schedule, like all that stuff, having that infrastructure is different than I kind of graduated, had 1 year on the tour. Like 2019 was kind of like first full pro year. Yeah. And then 2020 was 2020, and then 2021. And now it's kind of like, okay, we have another full year of professional volleyball to a certain degree. It's interesting, I guess.
How old are you?
That. I just turned 25.
25? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you literally are younger than some of the girls who just came out. Because I remember when we were in Australia, Tony was talking about like, oh, it's my first international trip. And I was like, oh, like it's just like, she's baby Tony. Right. And I was like, hold on, you're like almost 26. Yeah.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. It's so funny because I played against a lot of these girls that are just coming up out of college. Yeah. I'm like, hold on. That was like 4 years ago. Or 5 at this point, I think. Well, yeah.
Well, it's funny, if you graduate in 4 years now, it's considered like you graduated fast. Because Tim graduated from UCLA, I think when we were like right before Cuba, I think he was like done. And he's like, I graduated early. And I think Tim's 22. And I was like, is that early now?
Is that early?
Is it when you're 22 and you graduate college, are you early? Right. Because I was 21, and I felt like I was a pretty normal person.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was 20 when I graduated, so I was on the younger end for sure, but like definitely now I see people staying in for all those 5th years and for, I don't know,
and I mean the COVID year is going to throw off everything for a full cycle.
For recruiting, for everything. It's crazy. My younger brother is going through that right now, but he actually committed he's going to UCSB for water polo. Oh, nice. Yeah.
Right on. That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm so excited for him.
So you've made the full conversion. You're no longer a Floridian family.
Yeah. No, I mean, in parts. My grandparents still live out there. Okay. And now that I'm playing with Sarah, I'm still like half over there. I'm going out next week again. So definitely spent almost... I don't know. It's hard to tell. Yeah. Not a lot of time at home this year.
No. How do you deal with that?
Well, I enjoy it, but I miss the people. Yeah. You know, like I miss Alex and I miss my roommates. Oh my gosh. I was calling back in my roommates and they were watching all the trash TV that we watch as a family, you know. And my family even calling back, I'm like, I just wish you guys were here as well, you know? And I miss being at home, but I also love it. We just had the last month, you know, on the road, and it was kind of fun. I mean, no, it was very fun. We had a blast. Sarah and I, like, we got to play good volleyball. We got to, you know, explore a little bit. So I had my birthday out there in Austria, and it was so nice because I know a lot of people now on the world tour and even through Alex, and I had a birthday dinner with tons of people. Yeah. And they all made me feel like at home. That's awesome. It was so sweet, and it was so fun. And then, you know, Sarah and I did a little Greece trip for my birthday. Yeah. Right before, because we had the weekend off anyway. Yeah. And we were like, well, we could just have a layover in Greece for a few days, you know? And it was perfect, you know? It was so fun. And just traveling and staying out there, it was... Yeah, Jade Race came along with us for a few. That was a blast.
She's a traveling lady this year. Yeah. She's all over the map.
Yeah, that was super fun. She came with us to Ostrava. So yeah.
Awesome. So you, like, I mean, your May was crazy. You went from, well, so when was the Norseka that you played? That was, was that like last weekend of April?
That was...
Or was it a little earlier?
The Norseka, the actual event was in April for sure. Okay. I think. And then the Norseka qualifier was, I think, 2 weeks before that. Okay. The Norseka was over the same time as Itapema. Okay. Which was like, and like late April-ish. Yeah, I think so. And then, because you played in that in the Dominican. Mm-hmm. Was it as, I mean, Taylor's like the last person in the world to complain about beach volleyball conditions. And so when Taylor Crabb's complaining about something, it had to have been pretty bad. Yeah. Over there. It was, well, it's just a difference because they had the two at the same time. So there was the Punta Cana one, and then there was the Santo Domingo. Yeah. And the Punta Cana one was on the beach. It was like deep sand, beach sand. Yeah. It was gorgeous. And we were kind of in more of a facility.
You're in like a complex, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And the sand was pretty shallow. And I always, you know, I know the people are also nice and welcoming, and they're trying to make it the best that they can, right, given the circumstances, you know? And so the people were all great and trying to accommodate everything, but the conditions were pretty hard. It was playing indoor, with some rocks, playing indoor with rocks. And, you know, that time too, Sarah had a little injury coming off right off of Panama. And so we played a little I formation.
Oh, really?
But it was really fun for me because I got to dig everything and side out everything. It was a blast. But, you know, she's all healed up now. So that's a good part. But it was just a weird tournament for us in general, especially like we knew it was going to rain. We knew that the rain was coming. And then we were delayed because they delayed the tournament before us. Yeah. So that was a whole mess, I would say. It got a little messy. Yeah. You know, and just the scheduling didn't work out. Right. And it was unfortunate because, I mean, it was a big tournament. You know, it was a qualifier for world champs, you know, and that's how the Taylors, they did qualify at that tournament, but had to happen a week later. And it actually affected us as well because at that point, we knew that we were deciding between that tournament and Itapema, and they said, okay, we're going to have points at this tournament. So we're like, okay, we'll go to Itapema, we'll still get the points, and we'll be main draw for Turkey, likely, if we do well. And so we played in that, but because the points didn't count that Monday after, it was the same week as Itapema.
Did you get points for it at all?
We did. Okay. But it was a week later, and so they didn't count for Turkey.
Got it.
So it was kind of a mess because we were like, oh, wait, our points aren't in yet. And we were kind of trying to figure it out. And they're like, no, the tournament's not finished. I'm like, well...
Oh, because the Taylors had to go to Mexico?
Yeah, they still had to go to Mexico. And it was a whole thing with us because we were asking, we didn't play the finals. And we're like, okay, what's first and second? You know, how are we going to split this up? And the guy goes, okay, you guys will tie for first. We're like, great. And then he goes, just kidding, it's going off entry rankings. I'm like, great, we're first. Right. And I was like, if we're not first, I want to play. Yeah. Like, I made that, you know, very clear. So they leave us, they tell us, you guys have earned first place at this tournament because we didn't play the finals. Mm-hmm. And it was downpouring, and I was like, I'll go play. I was like, we'll go play if we're in second. I don't know. Mainly because there were extra points in that. And
it's 160 versus 144. Like that's the difference between main draw and qualifier.
Yeah,
a lot of
and
times.
We thought that it could be the difference between main draw and qualifier. And we knew it would count for Ostrava too, and Latvia and all that. So we were like, yeah, we want to play. And then we come back, and the week later, and they give us second And so that we were like,
surprise.
No, but it's all right at this point. We kind of went through the initial what,
right,
and then moved on.
And you have 3 ninths. So you got ninth in Mexico, which was such a fun event. What a cool start to the year for you guys too, because that was like a big tournament. You guys were still a very new team. I mean, you had like kind of the last minute get together for Itapema at the end of last year, and then that would have been pretty cool to start off like that.
Yeah, and I think at Tlaxcala we were playing really good volleyball too. So we made it through the qualifier, took our first seed in the tournament, got out, and then we met a good Spanish team, and it was a really good game. It was a battle, and we think back to that game, we're like, that's one of the ones that stays with you for a little bit. But, we were playing really well at that point, and we want to kind of, get back to that mentality and that zone. And honestly, in that game for ninth, instead of going on, we still played really good volleyball. So it's hard to be fighting with that one, just because we know that we put it all out there, we did all we could, and we still finished well. And that finish almost took us into the rest of the tournaments. Being main draw, which was super helpful, as everyone knows. You travel all the way around the world to play in a qualifier. It can be
especially with the state of the prize money on the world tour. It's tough. AVP's a little down too, but it's funny that you look back on that tournament. I think the first match you probably think of is that Spanish match, because it was 1917 in the third. 1917 and you beat Therese and Sarah, huge win. You beat Thamela.
We beat Tayana Lima and Helge.
Hegi.
Hey, yeah.
And they ended up getting fourth.
I think they got
maybe third.
Fourth.
I can't remember. They played Elise Maya and the other one. I can't keep track.
I think they got I think it was a fourth there too.
Okay.
So they finished
They're
well.
a really good team.
Yeah, and it was we were playing good volleyball. It was exciting.
Yeah.
So that was good, and we kind of had come off right of that training block, and then straight into that tournament, and then after that, it went really fast. A little bit.
Because then you guys, was April mostly just like a training month? Well, I guess you had Panama City.
Yeah.
You had the Norseca qualifier and the Norseca, so never mind.
It wasn't really a training month. Right. I feel like our training happened kind of before Tlaxcala, and then we went through that whole playing and, nursing some things, and then we went to Doha, which again was kind of still coming back. Yeah. Which again, we played well there, but I think it was a little early, but we really wanted to make that push for Worlds. So that's why we prioritized that. Yeah. And then Turkey, we just we stayed out there and had, it's easier.
Turkey looked beautiful.
It was.
That looked awesome.
Oh yeah, I would go back to Turkey in a heartbeat, and I didn't expect it to be like that. So it was more surprising. You show up and you're on this beautiful Aegean coast, and it's Mediterranean, and the sunsets are like insane every single night. It was gorgeous. I called. And I was like, I would vacation here. Yeah. But I love that we're here for volleyball. Right. I would never have found that place if it weren't for volleyball. But it was gorgeous. The people were great. I really liked that tournament. I think they had 8 main draw hotels, which was a little interesting for transportation. We had a little in the beginning, but they sorted everything out. And I think next year, they'll consolidate it a little bit more. But every hotel we stayed at was gorgeous and all inclusive and right on the water. Nice. It was awesome. Yeah. It was awesome.
So you've been to, because you were pretty well traveled from our 2021 adventure, but was that your first time playing in Doha too?
My first time in Doha was I actually went for a military tour.
Oh, that's right.
In November 2021. Okay. So. Yeah.
Probably a very different experience.
Right. It was a very different experience.
Probably saw a different Doha.
Yeah. And then we went to Doha again for the King of the Court. And so this was my third time in Doha.
Got it.
But yeah.
You played a couple. Well, is that your only King of the Court? Because Sarah played.
She played in Utrecht. Yeah. Okay. Last year.
And you're hitting the one in Hamburg coming up?
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
There will be. It'll be exciting. Yeah. I love the King of the Court tournaments. They are. Yeah. They treat the athletes so well. They're super responsive. It's a blast. It's so fun. And honestly, it's good volleyball, you know, and you're
Yeah.
so focused on your side out, it definitely translates. And
Yeah.
it's an exciting way to play volleyball.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah.
I'm
and
excited.
It's fun to watch. And I wouldn't be surprised if King of the Court becomes an Olympic sport, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. But just like a subcategory.
Right.
Of volleyball. Like swimming, you know, has its, 100 meter,
Right.
200 meter. Like that would be like our 400 meter.
Yeah.
Event.
I mean, I would love that. That would
Yeah.
be so fun.
Because I think people would watch it, and it's very easy to understand. Like, if you score on offense, you score.
Yeah.
And if you score on defense, you go over there and you can score points.
Yeah. I mean, it's really fun to watch, too. Like, while we were out there, we were playing, and then after we finish, watching it, you're totally engaged the whole time. It's fun.
How'd you guys do in Doha?
We got the King of the Court.
Yeah.
We got a 6th. So we just made it shy of the finals.
Because that's the tough part. That's the part that's tough to understand. I'm like, so one team, there is a possibility that one team can be there for 15 minutes and their tournament's over, right?
Yep. No.
Or do they have like a losers?
There is a losers bracket.
Okay.
And I think if you don't make it out of the first one, if you're not top 4 out of 5, I think that there's another route that you get to go into.
Okay. So you could put
but
in like
you're
a losers
basically,
pool.
it's not like you're competing against everyone. You're kind of only competing, if you're in the bottom, against a certain team a little bit. So
yeah.
It depends so much on the other people, too.
Right.
It's kind of crazy. So you're over there, and if that team is the only other team with 0 points or something, you want them out, and you'd rather the other team do well, and so that you can get back over there and, get points. It depends totally on other teams. It's definitely an interesting concept to play.
Yeah.
Because usually, it's just you and your team, and you're directly against this one person. And here you can still be directly against one person, but you're reliant on so many other people.
Yeah.
So
it's
fun.
cool to see like what Wilco's built.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think all of those events are, like all the players, their experiences are unanimously positive.
Yeah.
And they're packed.
Oh, yeah.
All of those events are just mobbed.
Right.
It's so cool. And you see, and like, you didn't play in Utrecht, but they had those like boxes.
Oh, yeah.
And which they built,
those.
like I think they made that stadium almost specifically for COVID because everyone like has their own little VIP box.
Right.
And so, but it's like perfect.
Oh, yeah. It looks awesome. I would love to play in that one, but they made that one a European Championships this year.
Okay.
So won't be going to that one this year, but Hamburg, I think, is in a pretty cool stadium as well.
Oh, Hamburg's awesome.
So
Yeah, because I think that's in that same one that they did World Championships 2019.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
But I'm
That'd
not
be
exactly
sweet.
sure. We're just going to,
Yeah.
we'll find out.
And when is that one?
That's June 20th, maybe 18th.
Okay.
I think we'll leave around the 18th or 19th, maybe 20th. So it's that weekend, that next weekend.
Have you sat down and mapped out like what the rest of your season wants to look like, what you want that to look like, or do you go like kind of 2 months at a time?
Right.
And
I mean, we've
reevaluate?
been going at it more month by month, but I think it'd be best for us to go look at it on the full year. We have looked at it at the full year.
Yeah.
But being so used to years past, we were kind of like, okay, playing everything that we can.
Right.
And now that we're kind of in a little different spot with no country quotas, with all the other things, we can kind of sit back and say, okay, we want to play in this tournament. We want to play in this tournament. And we just had a conversation about how important it is to make sure that we're having our training blocks and making sure that we're playing in our A or B game.
Yeah.
Rather than like when we end these long stints of tournaments, you're not always playing at that level. And then when you're not playing at that level, it can hurt your confidence. It can hurt, a few other things. But it's really important to map out your season and to make sure you're peaking at the right time and all that other stuff. And so we are looking at that. But especially at the beginning of the season, it was kind of like a rush. Not a rush. It wasn't meant to be a rush, but it was, you know. And so we booked so many flights. We booked so many things. We were signed up for so many tournaments. And we were changing plans every other day. Luckily, with the airlines now, canceling's way easier.
Yeah.
But it was, I have a lot of flight credits. So
I bet you do.
which is unfortunate. But no, it's definitely looking more at the season. We want to look more at the season. But again, in the beginning of the year, it was kind of, we didn't know what the international schedule was really going to look like with the new structure. We didn't know how it would all fall through. So, yeah.
Have you figured out Or just like, have you started to get an estimate of how many tournaments you can play before you start falling off that A-B game?
I have an estimate of myself, but it also depends on how I feel, like how strong I'm feeling before I start the stint, how close my last one was. It kind of differs, I guess, and it depends on the kind of tournament too, I guess. Like, I don't think the King of the Court's going to take as much out of me as something else, because the King of the Court has a different energy to it. Like, it's, you know, it's just different. It depends on the tournament, you know, so I have an idea, but it's really also important to see, like, when we're over there, how we can maintain during that segment as well. So how we're maintaining during those stints depends also, like, makes a huge difference on how many tournaments in a row or how long we can last.
Yeah, that's what I'm so impressed. When I look at what, say, Anders and Christian were able to do, it blows my mind that they were able to win. It was something like 8 out of 12. Yeah. And you're in different countries, you're traveling, your diet is always going to be off just because you don't really know exactly what the food's going to be like.
Right.
You don't know what the gym's going to be like, so it's hard to keep your same lifting. Your training block is an hour.
Yep.
It's supposed to be an hour, but, I mean, people find their ways around it.
Right.
And it's just different. You're in a different environment. I can't sleep great on the road. And I definitely don't sleep in planes. I know you don't have that problem.
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good at sleeping on planes, airports, floors, you know, the whole nine, you know. But you know, it's kind of, if you have to, you got to be good at it or figure out a way. But it's just tough if you can't. That's
Well, it's just like, I think you summed it up best. You just figure out a way. Like, you just find, you figure it out. I think that's, at the end of the day, the teams that are best on the World Tour, and AVP, because there's a lot of traveling there this year, is the teams that can just figure it out.
Right.
Are always going to do it. I'm really impressed with Kristen and Taryn right now.
Yeah.
Because you never know how a team's going to react to international travel.
Right.
And they've managed it, and they hit the road to Latvia.
I know. That's going to be a fun one for them. It's fun to watch them come out and, you know, crush it on the AVP. Although, you know, at the same time, you're like, oh, damn it. You know, I want to, no, like, it's a good competitive spirit, but also they're super sweet girls. And, you know, I got to play in that 4-man tournament with them. And that was a blast. You know, we had a great time. So I like them a lot.
Is what you, Taryn, Kristen, and Fallon.
What a group,
was
right?
Gina was
on a
different team?
Yeah, the other team.
Okay.
The California team. We were on Team Midwest.
Okay.
Which, you know, I was like, a Southern would have been closer, you know, Florida, Louisiana, and Fallon. But, I mean, that team was a blast. We had so much fun together.
Yeah.
At least I had a blast.
I would love to see, because Fallon has such a funny energy, and she's so enthusiastic and loud and like talking trash and like loving on her teammates, and like her and like quiet, sweet little Kristen.
Right. Yeah. Kristen's like a little fighter, I feel like, you know, and then Taryn too is a little fun and, you know, has a bubbly personality, and it was fun. It was just a good group. You know, I think we all had...
And a cool way to end the year, too. It was kind of like a very fun, friendly way to just end the season. I mean, you hit Brazil right after, pretty much. But I feel like for everybody else, it was like a great cap.
Yeah, but the McKibbins did a great job with that tournament, too. It was a really fun tournament. They had a huge turnout. I mean... I saw that. It was sold out, I think. It was. They had to move, I think, to a different venue because it was just... sold out. It sold out too quick, which is exactly what you want in a beach volleyball tournament, you know? So I was excited to be a part of that one. Yeah. Maddie and Riley, did you see them in New Orleans? I did. I just briefly. Okay. Because it was funny. Our flight back from New Orleans was packed. It was me and Delaney, Mark Schuerman and Kim, Maddie, Riley, like 3 refs, and then their younger brother, Jameson. Yeah. And I don't think Madison, and Frito. Frito's great. He just kind of like popped up out of nowhere, and he's just like producing all these sick videos. Yeah, he's awesome. Talented. Yeah, he's really talented. But it was them, and Madison like could not have slept the night before because he was just, his eyes were so red. Oh my gosh. He was like trying to speak and just like was struggling getting these sentences out. I was like, Maddie, maybe you can take a nap, man. Been there, yeah. Oh gosh. Because he was telling me what their schedule was like. They were in New Orleans the whole day,
And then they were putting videos together from Ostrava for the FIVB.
Yeah.
When they weren't doing Austin stuff or New Orleans. And I was like, when did you sleep? They're like,
Great question.
Yeah. We did.
Yeah, I know. It takes a lot of time to go into the editing, into the, filming, editing, producing, putting it all together. It's not easy. So they're doing a really good job with that.
Yeah.
And it's, the end product is always
amazing.
So impressive to me.
Yeah. And now they're turning them around really fast for like all the Wilson athletes.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's impressive. Mm-hmm. Well, who are your sponsors right now?
Right now it's Wedbush.
Okay.
He's in Manhattan Beach. His whole family is into volleyball. They're a wealth management company, and their family is amazing. I'm so stoked that I get to represent them again. This is my second year.
Yeah.
And I also have Replay Guitar Exchange out in Florida and Coppertail Brewery out in Florida as well. And, they've been also with me since the very beginning, so that's been exciting.
Are you still working with that crypto company?
I'm not, but I've talked with them again because crypto is a very interesting,
It's fascinating.
It is. It's fascinating. And I will say over COVID, I was getting really into the whole, investing. And it was great for COVID. Yeah. Obviously. I think most people that got in at that point.
It was a good time.
It was a good time. And now it's a less good time. But yeah, we'll see. But no, I've definitely talked with them a little bit more as well recently, but not currently with them. And then also Now Foods is a sponsor of mine. And it's a really cool brand. So they produce just, full, healthy, organic foods, supplements. They have a massive range of products, and it's, really stoked. So we just did a fun media day out with them, and we're going to, release something later in the year. So
sweet.
Yeah, it's exciting.
You do well with sponsors.
I try to.
Yeah. Do you have an agent, or do you find them yourself?
It's a little bit of both. So I was, I'm signed again with KVA, which is Richard Hiskey and Kurt.
Okay.
And I worked with them a little bit before COVID, right when I graduated from high school, and then I'm working with them again now. I've also have Jess Granquist, who has been huge. She's been fantastic. She's awesome. She's just fantastic. She's a good communicator. Yeah. She's great. Just has a lot of knowledge on how to sell yourself, how to present yourself, how to go about those things. Mm-hmm. So she's been also, helping us out, and that's been awesome.
Yeah, she's been great because I think she represents the Crabs now.
Yeah, I know she represents
I know Trevor.
Yeah.
Maybe just Trevor. But yeah, she's been awesome.
Yeah.
Like she's just like super enthusiastic. She's like, yeah, it's just something I want to start doing. Because when me and Delaney lived with her in JM, she had always talked about how she wanted to be an agent. Yeah. And I was like, well, you can just start doing it.
Yeah, you can.
Because beach volleyball players, all of them need money.
Right.
And you're really good at marketing.
Yeah.
And
she's got a skill.
She's digging into it.
It's exciting for her. I think that she could do really, really well in that space. So
I think so too, because she knows volleyball. Like she played at Minnesota, and then she made it to the last round of a couple qualifiers. So she was a good beach player. Mm-hmm.
She knows the community. She's really good at getting to know other people, connecting with brands, just everything. I think she's got a good head on her shoulders, just in general.
Yeah. Would you recommend getting an agent for other players?
I would. I'd say the biggest deals I've had all come from connections that I know personally. I've gotten a lot from agents, but a lot more are, social media or Instagram or, smaller deals, maybe one-offs and all that other stuff. And that stuff is great because, it's important to have an income. But I'd say the best ones have kind of come from the connections that either I've made or other people that my family knows or, just people we've met along the Strand or wherever, because my dad talks, my dad talks for a living. And so he meets tons of people and just, he's a really good communicator as well. And he meets a lot of people and he's good at connecting things. And so through him, I've been able to meet a lot of people as well. So I think it depends. Like if you're comfortable selling yourself and marketing yourself and coming off and talking to people and having those difficult conversations, then it's not so bad to go on your own because, you know, you have full control over it. Right. But if you're not, which I'm not always, it's nice to have an agent to be maybe a little bit more professional, maybe a little bit more, you know, they can deal with the money talk and, you know, the details, which, you know, are not easy to talk about. Especially selling yourself is not so easy for me, at least. And, you know, communicating that you have value and even finding the value in yourself. I know a lot of beach volleyball players struggle with that. Like just knowing that you have value. Yeah. So
I think that's one of the toughest parts because Delaney, whenever I talk, like she loved, like whenever we go camping, for example, we always use the like Justin's peanut butter packets. I was like, you should email them because you bring these on the road everywhere you go. And she's like, always wrestles with the fact. She's like, but what can I add to them?
Right.
Like, what value can I bring to them? I'm like, well, just think about it. I mean, you have like a presence in this community, a very health conscious community who everyone has to travel and brings little peanut butter or whatever packets on the road. It's like, you could present it that way. But I think a lot of beach players probably look at it as like, what value do I have to a potential sponsor?
Yeah, and I think that there is a lot to offer. I mean, I've found more that like people are watching, like people, there are eyes on you, you know, and even young eyes, like all kinds of age groups. I get, you know, messages from a lot of different age groups. I'm like, this is amazing. Like there's a lot of different examples I'm thinking of right now going through my head, but even younger girls that I've coached and that have come watch me play, and it's kind of crazy, like what an impact you can have on these the younger generations and even people around your own age. Like I have my friends that are like, oh, what do you do for this? Like, oh, you travel so much. What do you pack? Like, how do you pack? What are you using for your bags and all this other stuff? I'm like, wow, like people do want to know, you know? And so there is a lot of opportunities there. Yeah. And I think it's interesting, another segment and route of the influencers growing, like that whole segment of, I guess, work is growing so much that people are like, oh yeah, I will pay for this. Like, oh, I will pay for this exposure because it's been seen that influencers, you know, bring back value to a certain degree. And so I always want to be like, I am an athlete, you know, not necessarily a full influencer, but to a certain degree, like, I don't know, you have to, I don't know. It's been a process for me to be like, okay, don't sell yourself short a little bit. Right. And go down that road of, you know, allowing yourself to, I don't know how to describe it.
Well, it's hard. It's hard to really embrace social media sometimes, I think. Yes,
that's what I'm getting at.
It's so fake on so many levels.
It can be,
you, on the influencer level, like I look at it, I'm like, oh, come on, give me a break. But I think that there is a really good space if you do it right and you're like pretty genuine and honest and forthcoming, that you can make a difference there. And that's like, I feel like what it's intended, its intended use is here. Exactly. And its actual use is like,
but that's something that I try to be really conscious of. Like, okay, do I actually like this? Do I actually like feel strongly about this? Can I go and be like, yeah, I love this product, you know? And then that's when I accept my stance of being like, okay, I can promote this, you know? And that's kind of like the battle, but that's where I've gotten to with it is like, okay, the things that I want to promote, like I'm going to promote because I feel some sort of connection with them. And so I feel like that's good. And if you're getting to that spot, it's a pretty good spot to be in, I think. So I'm lucky in that way that I can kind of look at it that way. But I also think that attracts the right people. Yeah,
I would say that I wouldn't say that's lucky. I think you've created that because you've done a great job with your Instagram.
Thank you.
And then I think that like you're a pretty good example of how to actually attract sponsors and to create value for them.
Wow, thank you. Because I mean, I've had this fight all the way through of you know, becoming a professional athlete. You know, it's kind of like I want to be professional and come off professionally, but I also, especially on social media, like I also love to have fun and I like to surf and I love to explore and I want to do all these things and I want to show more of like, you know, who who I am through that, because I don't want it to just be all this. And so it's been kind of like, I don't know, social media is harder than it than it should be, I guess.
Well, I think that when you show stuff like the surfing and, ukulele or, whatever else you have going on, I think that's what makes you more relatable.
Right.
I remember, so Try has like a content budget with, I think either Legends or Monster. I forget which one, but they were like, we'd actually much rather see you surfing or playing with Naya and this and that, because that's what people can relate to that. Like, not everyone's going to be able to relate to you like bouncing a ball into the stadium in Ostrava, but they can relate to you like playing with your daughter.
Right.
And so I think that the lifestyle stuff is actually pretty attractive, because then people are like, oh, I have this in common with a professional athlete who's traveling the world and kicking ass playing beach volleyball.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of cool too when you share those things, because you get people that, for example, I was sharing all my Duolingo stats, and we've even talked about it. How long's your streak now?
I'm at 310 days.
Oh, wow. You're almost to a full year. That's so exciting. We'll have like a Duolingo
big
party.
celebration.
But no, I'm at like 770 something at this point. But
You're German?
Yeah, my German. So because I've posted about that, I'll have tons of people from all around the world like commenting back to me in German. I'm like, yes. This is exactly what I want. I just want somebody to speak German with me. But it's been really fun, and I've gotten to meet people, and even have people been like, hey, whenever you want to chat, like, let's speak in German. And so I'll respond back to them, and it's a blast. It's really cool, and then it helps me, because I get to learn more. And
that's why you're going to Hamburg. You just want to speak German.
A little bit. No, really, on my birthday, too. It was funny because we were in Austria.
Yeah.
And I was like, nothing more I could want on my birthday than people speaking German to me and ice cream. Like really. And
Austria is like that's one of my favorite countries I've been to.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I love the people there. It feels like a second home for me a little bit now, which is nice.
Yeah. I mean, it is semi-true, because that's where Alex is from.
Yeah, exactly. and even like I feel very comfortable there. Like if I ever needed anything, his whole family is amazing, and they're always,
what were you guys doing out there?
We did a whole training week, actually. So we trained with the Austrian girls and with their coach, and they let us into the gym. It was an awesome training week.
Nice.
We got good training. We got to lift. We got to use their facilities. It was great.
How were the facilities out there?
They were nice. So they have like 3 outdoor courts and 3 indoor courts. And then cool. Right in the inside of the indoor courts, there's like showers, everything. And then above there's a whole gym. So it's all in one area.
Awesome.
And it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Did you get out there with the Klingers?
Yeah, we were with the Klingers. We were with, I actually can't pronounce their last names very well.
I commentated one of them.
Gosh.
And I had very little notice that I was commentating this match.
Right.
And it was Lena.
Mm-hmm. Lena and
See,
I should know it.
I need to see it.
Because I'm usually pretty good at reading, but names are tough for me in German, because I'm not going to do it. Because I should know it. I should be better at it. But
I was looking at the names, and I was like, I got nothing. So I ran it through like a Google pronunciation thing, and I was like, okay, that helped a lot. And so if I said it wrong, if we have any Austrian fans who watched that match, if I said it wrong, it's Google's fault.
It's Google's fault.
Not mine.
Right. Yeah, you could have called Alex and said, how do you pronounce this one? Yeah.
I should have. But sometimes hearing it spoken how it's supposed to be said, I'm like, I can't say it.
It's even
like
more
that.
difficult, right? I know, that's a lot of names for me. I pronounce Schönbrunn wrong so many times, and I just did it again because the O and the U with the umlauts.
Yeah. That's what those are called?
Yeah, I think so.
Just like the 2 dots?
I think, yeah.
Okay.
The 2 dots above. They totally change how you say the vowel, and so it gets tricky for me.
Yeah.
I haven't nailed down those yet, but
You got to be pretty good though. Like 700 some days.
Yeah,
I know
can
Duolingo's
understand.
not full immersion, but
right.
It's good enough.
Yeah, I can understand a decent amount, and I can read pretty well.
Yeah.
So Jade actually showed me a German rap song, and I was going through it. I was like, okay, this is like it's like a classic rap song.
Okay.
But all in German, so I was reading it out to her back in English, and she had the English translation pulled up. She's like, you're actually doing really well. And I'm
That's really funny.
So I can read pretty well, and it's fun. It's like a fun challenge for me to be like, oh, I don't know this word, but that's a bad word.
Yeah.
I know that one for sure. And but it was, I feel like I'm getting better, and the more time I spend out there, like in Stad last year, I was out there for the first time, and I had a coach come up to me, and he was like, "Du sprichst Deutsch?" And I was like, oh, yes. And I just made my whole day, and we talked for a while, and he knew Alex, and I was really like so excited I couldn't contain myself because
that's hilarious.
I was like, somebody came to me and spoke German. But yeah, now every time I see him, we always speak a little bit, and the Austrian coach actually was like, "I can do the whole thing in German if you want." And I was like, "Yeah." And Sarah was like, "No."
That's hilarious.
No. But yeah. But I actually talk to Sarah sometimes in German and show her whatever it is, so she's learning too.
That's funny.
Forcing it on her.
You guys seem to get along pretty well.
Yeah, we do. It's super fun playing with Sarah. We've had a good time on the road. I think we have both this similar mindsets. Yeah. We're both, I think we have the goals that we want to reach, and we want to go about it in the right way. And we also, I think a big part of our whole training has been like our mental training, especially with our coach Victor. Now, he talks a lot about the mental side of things, and he even practices the mental side of things in our practice. Like if we're making an error or something, but we made the right move, he's trying to redirect our thoughts of like, that was a good move.
Right.
The touch wasn't there, but like I went the right direction. Like that's maybe not the best example, but it's really interesting to see his mental side of it and how we practice it. So it's a practice, like the whole mental side of it, you can practice, and to practice it while you're actually doing the actions, it just puts a whole nother level onto it. Yeah. It's really cool.
Is Victor based in Florida, or is he out here?
He's based in Florida and Brazil. So he's kind of been back and forth, but he's actually going to be in Florida next week. So that's why we're going out there.
When you guys go, do you train at B-Volley?
We do. Okay. B-Volley, yeah.
That place is cool.
It is.
It's funny because Florida, everyone always talks about, AVP's got to go back to Florida, Florida. But most of the beaches in Florida are terrible to play on.
They're harder, for sure.
Like B-Volley is great because the sand's deep and the nets are good. And then when we played that AVP Next in Clearwater.
Oh, which one?
It was like we were playing on this.
Yeah.
It's like, holy cow.
Yeah, I sliced my toe, like the whole thing just right on through on a shell last time I was there. But there are some beaches that are okay. I think Fort Lauderdale is.
I've heard Fort Lauderdale's good.
Yeah, I think Fort Lauderdale's better.
I heard it's pretty great.
I don't know
Never
about
played
Deerfield.
there.
I don't know about it either. But the sand is definitely more shallow than out here.
Yeah, out here it's like a pillow.
It's different.
Great.
But B-Volley does have great sand.
Yes.
Their sand is deep. We get good training. Everything's right there. I actually enjoy training out there. And not that it's different from out here, because we've talked about both. Obviously, she lives there and I live here. But there's value in both, because when we're there, it's like, for me, maybe less for her, it's like a training camp.
Right.
And like my full focus it's like volleyball, lifting, getting everything that we need. It's very focused, and it's all kind of in the same area. And here we have the teams, to play against, and that's such an advantage. But it's also good because, when I practice here with my last partners and stuff, we do a lot of stuff on our own still. Yeah. And then we can still do all that stuff out there, and kind of, we have a good training group. We got practice players that we play with, like Eunice, and like she's a stud defender. Yeah. And so it's good. Like we get a lot out of our trainings out there. Yeah. More than, I was a little hesitant at first to train so much out there, but it's been like, I feel like I've made huge strides in those moments that we've been out there for those few weeks. So.
Well, you get to focus so much on, especially, I think that those training camps are so valuable after a stretch of tournaments, where you're able to identify, this went great, this was kind of a C-, this was like B+, where you can find things to shore up, and then you can really just like hone in on them, get a good shoulder, and just like rep it out.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so excited to go back for these 2 weeks before King of the Court, is because we've played tournaments, we have the film, we have all the stuff, and we can go back and look at it with Victor in person and be like, okay, this is where we did here. These were our moments in the game. This is like the mental side of it. And then we're on the court, repping those things out maybe once or twice a day. Yeah. So it's awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. And then I'm even more looking forward to the next stint that we have after.
Right.
You know, we get to train and then go back.
Back on the road.
Oh, yeah.
July, I was looking at the schedule because we have
crazy.
Muskegon coming up. And you guys, you're signed up. Are you for sure going? Or is it still kind of like
I'm pretty sure we're for sure going at this point.
Okay.
As long as we're all good and healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at, for most people, it would be Muskegon and then a little bit of break. And once July hits, shit hits the fan through almost October.
Yeah. Right. It's going to be very busy. There's still those last few tournaments out in Europe. Depending on what we do, it's between Hermosa and Stade, Portugal and Morocco. And then we're going to do...
And then Morocco has a conflict with...
I think a tour stop, right? I think
Atlantic City?
I feel like it's Atlantic City tour.
Okay.
And then after that, we're prioritizing the AVP for a stint, because that FIVB kind of calms
just like
down.
A stretch of futures, I think.
Yeah, it kind of has an opening after that. And then, so we're going to be going on the AVP tour pretty much as many places as we can at that stint, as long as we're, again, healthy and it fits in our schedule and we're feeling pretty good. And then after that, kind of the AVP slows back down and the FIVB picks back up. So we'll see what happens. We haven't sat down fully. We'll probably do that in these next 2 weeks to decide exactly which tournaments we're going to, go after. But there's some fun ones coming up at the end of the year too. So
I know, it's like a full month in Australia almost.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it goes, there's Brazil that has a few. Again, is there another? Oh no, I'm thinking of King of the Court, because there's a King of the Court actually in Australia as well.
Yeah.
After the Challengers and Elite, then it's King of the Court.
Yeah.
So that's going to be fun if we end up doing that.
Have you been to Australia before?
Never. No, I was going to go for the first time earlier in the year.
Because you got to bring your board.
Oh my gosh.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. When we went, I didn't realize, because I'm like just getting into surfing, and I didn't realize the place where we were going is like the first stop on the WSL.
Oh my gosh.
And so I was like...
Was that Coolangatta?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so, because it's Snapper Rocks.
Oh yeah.
And so I like texted Adam. I was standing on our balcony. I was like, hey Rob, these waves are insane. I was like, they're just like these right breaking waves that you could take for like 2 minutes at a time if you wanted, end up like half mile down the beach.
Oh my gosh.
He was like, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It's like everyone knows that.
Wow. I didn't know that was the same area though.
Yeah.
But that's amazing. No, I think that if we go to Australia, I'm definitely going to either rent a board or something, because I've always wanted to surf down there.
Yeah, I'd recommend. When I saw that on the schedule, I was like, all right, I need enough points to get in that Challenger.
Oh, yeah.
I want to go back.
Where is that one? That's still TBD, right?
Yeah. I mean, my guess would be like Manly Beach,
Manly.
Sydney type deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like literally beach volleyball, like back-to-back. You could play back-to-back-to-back tournaments in November in Australia.
Yeah.
Start beginning in Mexico in March.
Right. Yeah, I know. It's going to be it is. And I'm just so happy that there's so much volleyball this year. Like, that is, I mean, I think everybody kind of waiting for the schedule into, what were we in? February, or was it in January?
The AVP was late.
And we were all kind of waiting. And then we finally got like the whole rush of schedule. And I think it's great. Like, I think that this year is definitely going to be a little bit of a transition year after the Olympics. It always is. But, even with the AVP in Bali's, even with the FIVB and their new volleyball world, and like everything's kind of changing. And so this year is a little bit different, but I'm just so happy to see that they're going for more.
Yeah.
Like more tournaments, more opportunities to play. That's I think we need to go. So.
Yeah. And I think that the FIVB not only is doing more, I think that the product that they're putting on is just vastly superior to what it was.
Oh, yeah. I think that I'd still would love to see more teams at the highest level, like Elite 16, maybe Elite 32, kind of like how Stade's going to be.
Yeah, Stade, that's cool that they're doing that.
I'm really excited about that. And I think that, it needs to be like that. I mean, you had the Swedish guys, for example, go win in Turkey and then lose in the qualifier.
Yeah. And the team they played in the finals, the Australians, Try and Trevor, got them pretty good in the qualifier.
In the qualifier as well, you're right. So it's kind of crazy because there's so many good teams and they're qualifying, and it's different, I think that the more teams that you have in that segment, it's just going to make it bigger and better, so.
Yeah, it's just so, the toughest part is to make it like a financially viable thing.
Right.
I'm really, like, that's why I hope that Stade works out well.
Right.
And proves to be a sustainable model for other promoters to do it. Because I think 32 team without a qualifier, I think is fair.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair way to do it, because that's a lot of teams.
Right.
And I
agree.
think, like, as deep as the World Tour is, I think when you're getting past that 32, it's like, all right, team 33 through 40, probably not going to win the tournament.
Yeah.
So I think think that's good.
Yeah, but what you have now in the Elite 16 is the qualifiers winning the tournament. Stam Schoen, Sinja, and
Svenja Muller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tillman Muller. Like, both of them, qualifiers.
Which, good for them.
Right, I mean.
Man, Sinja's been knocking on the door for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
I was glad that that's cool that she got that win.
Yeah, yeah. The German whole federation right now is doing really well. So
is the Dutch.
Right,
Holy
and the Dutch
cow.
federation, of course, yeah.
Like, who would have guessed that the biggest powers in beach volleyball, it's like the men's side. You get Norway and then Netherlands. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Russia.
Right, all of the cold countries, and they're crushing it in beach volleyball.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's impressive. I mean, they must have a really good infrastructure there. Like, we practiced with a lot of the Dutch teams before the tournament starts, and I love, their coaches are great. They have their whole team there. They got the coaches, at least 2 or 3 of them. Yeah. The physio, the everything, and they all move as a team. And, and the Dutch, I feel like, are really all, I don't know if they're friendly with each other. I don't know if it just comes off that way, but they seem like a real team to a certain degree. I know on the guys' side, like, they all hang out, and they're still competitors, and they're still on different teams, but they're all still friends, and rooting for each other. Like, they're posting when they got a third or whatever. They're like, "Hey, look at this! This is awesome!" Like, we're crushing it on the World Tour, kind of, know, and in the best way possible, and building up their own countrymen. I think that's an incredible infrastructure that you have built there to have that kind of camaraderie, I guess.
Yeah. The U.S. it's been interesting. Getting on the World Tour has been a fascinating, eye-opening experience for me. Yeah. Just because, like, ever since I've known him, he's like, I don't root for Jake. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Like, I don't root for Phil. Like, they're trying to take my spot.
Right.
And even without the country quota, I think that took a little bit of the edge off.
It did.
But it's still there.
Oh,
for sure. Like, when I'm watching, Bill, me and Bill have been trading spots in the U.S. rankings for like a year. And I'm like, I have to root for him to lose.
It's hard.
I don't want to do that. I feel horrible.
Yeah, I know. It makes you feel horrible, but to a certain degree, terrible. You're like directly competing with the other Americans, you know? Especially for like world champs. Like, we would likely be in. I mean, we would have been in if we didn't have a country quota or all this other stuff. I mean, with all that stuff, but the biggest focus that Sarah and I have talked about, and I think it's really good for us, is to be like, everyone's on their own path. Our journey is going to be, our journey, and we can't control what, like, we can only control what we can control, and we can't control them. Can't control how they finish, any of that. We don't necessarily have to root against them or for them, but we take it as we can't control it. Yeah. And granted, it's fun to see, like, we're friends with the girls on the team and the guys. Like, we're all friends, friendly and everything. But it's just, that you have that little thing in the back of your head going like, well, if they do this, then you're going to make, less money, or you're going to do this, or, your ranking in the U.S. is going to drop. And granted, I think every country has that, like, you want to be the best in your country. But, I think it's been really important for us to look at it as it's our journey. This is, doesn't matter what anybody else does. We want to go and do the best that we can do, and that's all that we can do, you know. So that's been a good spot to take it to for us.
I feel, you just started getting on the World Tour. Was last year your first?
So 2019 was the first time, and we sat at like 7th the whole year. So that's right out of country quotas. So for me, country quota, and we got blocked out. Like, it was a tough year just because I graduated and then I didn't have the points to get in. And then there were like 2-3 stars, I think, that year. And like for the first one, I didn't have enough points to get in, but we took a second in Cambodia. That was with Amanda Dowdy.
Yeah.
We took a second, and then everyone's like, oh, so you guys are going to Australia? Wow, it's going to be great. I'm like, no, we actually, got blocked out of that tournament. Like, there was no country quota, but we can't go play. And that same thing happened with Itapema and the 4 stars and all that stuff. So it was just a little bit hard. It's a hard thing to take in.
Yeah.
To, like, I don't know, you're not having that opportunity to go show, like, play and perform and do your job to a certain degree. And I was explaining this kind of to somebody that I met abroad, and he was like, oh, yeah, it's not great that the country quotas are gone. And I was like, well, this is a sensitive topic for me. But, we had a good conversation. I was like, wouldn't you want, like, the best players playing? Like, wouldn't you want the people coming out, like, they have a right to become professionals at their sport if they're good enough, I think it shouldn't matter where you come from,
Yeah.
Let people
I would
play.
say, like U21s, U23s, sure. Give people an opportunity. But I think if it's a professional endeavor, you have to open it up to the best. And I think, and that's why, I think volleyball world has shown that they very much care about what the best product is going to be. And the best product is 100%. Like, no country quotas, just, you know what, if it's 6 Brazilians and 4 Americans and 4 Dutch teams, then so be it.
Right.
And there are enough events now where people can get the points.
Right. And that's the important part, that there are enough events. And I think, like, even now, there's a lot of, Brazilians and Americans and Dutch on the guys' side for sure. There's a lot of those teams in, but there's still a lot of opportunities for people to move up, and that's important. I think, for the whole sport, and for the athletes.
And I think it's important for Americans to have the Norseca system back. It is like, as sketchy as those tournaments can be, there's such great point scoring opportunities.
Right.
And I looked at it, and we had Andy on not too long ago, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to do this futures and that futures. And I was like, why?
Yeah, why?
Just do Norsecas. It's like, they're so cheap. They're so much closer.
Right.
And you can sort of sleepwalk your way into the semifinals in a lot of them. But in the futures, like, you're playing guys who are going to medal in challengers in the qualifier.
Right.
Right.
I mean, it is gnarly. It's definitely gnarlier over there in the futures. And I do think that it is important to have that Continental Cup back.
Yeah.
Because, even though when I first came out, there weren't many, and then 2020 and 2021,
there were
hardly, they were, like, completely gone. It's important for people to be able to make that first step into the tour, and then going on to the world tour.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a whole different level. I was watching, like, Herrera Guevara played in a futures, right? And they got a silver.
They lost to
and then they go
and
they've been crushing it in the other tournament. I mean, like, that's a difficult draw if you're coming up against them.
That was in Spain. That was at home.
I know. It's just, it's crazy. Like, they're super competitive.
Yeah, the guys' side is deep, and you can see that the U.S. is having a lot of trouble keeping up. We miss Phil and Jake pretty bad right now.
Well, Phil is...
Oh, my gosh. He's, like, all bow down to Phil Ballhauser.
Absolutely.
He's so good.
I know. I mean, I'm never not impressed with him, but it's just crazy what he's been doing for these past... And he's signed up for Stade, I think.
With Andy.
Yeah,
hoping for a wild card.
Crazy.
It's funny because Phil was
awesome.
like, I'm done. Like, I'm never going to Europe again. Not getting on a plane. Then he's like, Stade.
All right.
I can do Stade.
I'll sign up. But Stade, I mean, even if I had said all those things, which I'm definitely in a different spot than Phil, and I want to go over to Europe and all that stuff. But Stade might change anybody's mind, I think.
That's what I've heard.
Gorgeous. It's like maybe the most beautiful place I've seen. It's just unbelievable. It's also unbelievably expensive, but if it's all a main draw, then all the hotels are covered and all that. So that's...
And you pay for what you get. I mean,
it is just... It's gorgeous there. I mean, it's one of my favorite stops on the World Tour.
I think it's everyone we've had on. We've like toggled with like asking players kind of like a closing question, and one of them was what your favorite event was, but we had to take it away because everyone said Stade.
Right.
And then we had another one.
Repetitive.
It was what would you give, what advice would you give to an up-and-coming player? And everyone said just go play tournaments, and so we're like, all right, we'll take that one out too. So,
Right.
so we're coming up with a new one.
Answers, but I mean they're right.
Yeah, both answers are right. Like
Yeah.
it's like cliches are cliches for a reason because they're
Yep.
true, and those answers are their answers because they're true.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to get out to Switzerland. I'm signed up for. I'm trying to get a wild card into one of their Swiss tour events with Jake McNeil.
That'll be awesome. With Jake?
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Because we were trying to find an event. Jake was like, dude, like I can come down, like because I think that Jake could probably play in a tour series event.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's run by AVP America.
Right, and you don't have to have.
And so I think I could sneak him in, but I think he'd want to play that with his real partner,
Okay.
with Alex Russell. But he was like, yeah, Russ is gonna want to take June off. I was like, well, there's a Swiss event. You're my boy. We can try to get out there.
So is he going to be already out there, or are you guys going to fly out there and meet?
We'd fly out and meet out there.
Gosh.
Yeah, or maybe he'd come down here.
That'd be awesome.
First, yeah.
I know after 2020, I was trying to get into the German tour.
Okay.
Just because I knew that they were happening, and
Right.
there wasn't a lot happening in the U.S. And so I've definitely looked into playing some of those other tours over there just for fun. And plus, if it's in Switzerland or Germany, I get to speak more German. So
Yeah.
it's like a double. I get to learn a little bit and play volleyball.
Yeah.
all you
And
can
the
ask
other
for.
one we were looking at, because we were just trying to find any events you could play, like a country mishmash. And King of the Courts you can also do. And so we're looking at, I want to do the one in Itapema for the same reason that you like going to German-speaking places.
Right,
I love
Portuguese.
going to Portuguese-speaking places, especially because but very few people in
Actually
Brazil speak English.
Right.
And so it was super valuable last year when we played.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this came in handy really fast.
It's incredible, isn't it? I mean, it's really cool when you get to speak in that language that you're working on and you actually understand what they're saying and all that other stuff. Like getting around, you can get around. You feel so, I don't know, it's like a good feeling to be like, okay, I can, go to this country and speak this different language and understand and like be secure in that. It's really cool. But Itapema also, I would want to go back to for the waves as well. I heard like a little bit south or north. I'm not exactly sure, but there's actually a good break down there too.
Because where we were, it was just like there was nothing.
There was
like
nothing.
Little speed bumps. Yeah.
I know, but I talked to Lisa Reed, who went down there as the provider for the last Challengers event in Itapema, and she told me that I think she bought a board from somebody, drove an hour north or south, and had an amazing day out there. And I was like, you need to drop me a pin.
Yeah.
You need to give me all the details on this, where you bought the board, all this other stuff. So, yeah.
She's done some cool stuff. She like backpack surfed Costa Rica for like a month.
Oh, yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
These are like dream things for me to do now.
I know, it's incredible. It's incredible. Those are, eventually I'd want to do more of those.
Yeah.
But later on, right now.
When you're not going to like 20 countries in a year playing beach volleyball.
Right. That's not even it. I just want to stay focused on the volleyball, although it would be really relaxing for me. Like that would be a relaxing vacation to go somewhere and surf.
Yeah.
Like I would love that actually.
Yeah.
That actually sounds great.
Keep cross training, keep your shoulder healthy.
Oh, I actually feel the best in my shoulders and my body and everything when I have a good balance between maybe like surfing once a week in season or whatever it is, whatever I can fit in. Because definitely not. I haven't surfed in, the whole time I was out there. But I don't know. I love being out in the water. I was just talking to somebody in New Orleans about it. She lives out here half and half in New Orleans and in California. And
nice.
She was like, yeah, over COVID I was surfing in Malibu. I was like, I probably saw you. We were probably out there at the same time. I was there like every day,
Yeah.
And just how like therapeutic it is. And just
it's so
how
good for the soul.
Yeah, and how like it totally can change my whole mood around or totally can change my whole, like almost not to say week, but like it definitely gives me, like revives me to a certain degree. And that's where I feel, it's just so at home. So I love it. And if I can go somewhere and have good waves and or just be out in the water.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Yep.
It's,
I read this book called Blue Mind that I think you would love because it's on pretty much the science of water and why we like all the real estate by ocean is like just astronomically higher.
Right.
And a lot of it was on the science of surfing. And just like, you just get this neurochemical dump when you go surfing. Because it was something about, it was like the perfect combination of risk, like being in nature has its own like primal reward system,
Right.
and like there being like novelty to it. Like every wave you surf is going to be a little bit different. You have to figure out like how to time it, like when to pop up, like how fast to paddle. And he's like, oh, that combination of being in nature, it being like a little bit dangerous, and it being so novel is like the perfect activity.
Oh yeah.
And so you just get like these endorphins. It was like 100 times more powerful than like heroin.
Wow.
Like what your brain is doing when it's out there.
That's
like,
incredible.
That's awesome.
But I definitely believe it. Like
Oh yeah.
And even like the whole aspect of not challenging yourself, you're not competing with anybody else, but you're still like, you have a certain degree of, you want to do well on when you're up, and you want to do new things, and you like can make progress on so many things that it's still got that competitiveness a little bit that I love. I'm very competitive, but sometimes to, a fault. Again, like card games, I get almost too competitive about, it's just, sometimes I can take a bad route. But what I'm saying is that surfing doesn't necessarily take that bad route because of all those things, probably like the water, being in the nature, having everything new and having everything, all of that. And then also being able to improve on something is, I don't know, there's just a whole different thing to it that just, I don't know, makes you feel so whole, I guess.
You do.
Is the way I could
And I think this
describe
sport, beach volleyball, just attracts people who love being, like a lot of people, like when COVID hit, it was like all the beach volleyball players just like fled to the mountains, and everyone was just like camping and backpacking and doing whatever. I think it just attracts people who love like kind of that outdoorsy stuff.
Right.
I mean, by nature, we're like, we live on the beach.
Live in the, we live in the sand. The sand is always around us.
It's everywhere.
But yeah, I totally agree. I see all those people coming from or going to the mountains and camping and all that. And even where Alex is from is that Austrian Alp area. And when I went back with him the first time, I was like, wow, this feels so different, but it still feels like home, you know, where I grew up in Florida where it's, flat. Like biggest mountain is the bridge going over to school, and you can see everything from the top. You're like, woo, there's my house, And seeing this like Alps, it's just, in his life, I guess, there, it's so interesting, but it both has that same similar feeling of like where I can feel it at the beach or the mountains or those areas, but I think that they can be slightly different. Yeah. It's both very wholesome, both make you fill you up a little bit, like recharge the batteries, and then you can go back into it. Because with the beach, sometimes I know that this happens with other players too, and sometimes it's happened to me where I don't feel that same like relaxing or whatever because it's our job. Right. Or especially when I was coaching a bunch and practicing and competing, all that, like every time I went to the beach, it was for work, you know? And then do you want to go when you're not working? It's kind of like, I don't know, you spend so much time there. Right. And usually for me, I'm like, I want to stay out of the sun because I'm just in the sun so much. So I'm like completely covered up in towels, like laying out with my friends, but with a towel that covers my whole body. Yeah. But it's different. And then when you have that separation and you come back to that beach and you can feel like you can kind of soak in the nature again, it's special, it's, and that is probably more home for me, but there's times, I think for both. Because
that's when me and A-Rob, we got back from one of our like really long, like we were gone for like 6 or 7 weeks, and we got back, and I immediately called up Mesco. I was like, Mesco, we need to go to Sequoia, Yosemite, and he's always down. Yeah. He's like, yeah, great. When are we leaving? So, and we just backpacked in Sequoia for like 4 days. Wow. And it was perfect. It's like everything I needed.
That's incredible.
And then I came back to the beach. I was like, okay, it's good to be back. I'm whole.
Yeah, I'm whole again. That's awesome.
That's a good description.
Yeah, it is. Well, at least that's how I feel, Yeah,
well, I can't believe this has been like an hour 15 already.
Wow. That's crazy.
So you've had a hell of a year so far. So you're going to Muskegon and then Hamburg, and then July, and then after that, you might hit the Challenger in Espino? Yeah. And maybe Morocco, and then it's like chilling domestic for a while.
Stad or Hermosa as well. We're kind of between those two, and we're going to try to finalize that once the entry list comes out for Stad, and, we'll figure that one out as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, great start to the year, Corinne. It's fun hanging out with you again. Good
it was
catching
fun,
up.
for sure. Thank you for having me on. That's super fun.
Good to have you back. Last time you played the ukulele, well, make you do that again.
Yeah, my nails are actually clipped this time, so I could probably play it better, but I don't need to.
Yeah. Well, good luck. Have fun training.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that training stint and, making sure, getting back to where we want to be and then getting to perform.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to it.
I'll see you in Muskegon.
Yeah. All
right
right.
on.
Well, thank
All
you.
right. Shoots.